Now, I welcome our panel discussion people who are Simone Andrea, then Elmedi Musuni, Alexander Enthofen, and Arno Leven. And before I introduce them, I think we're quicker and better if they just introduce themselves and why they're sitting up here today.
Hey, thank you very much. So my name is Arno Laven. I am founder of WB Node. We are a blockchain consulting firm. We work on several projects in the space. We just launched a carbon credit venture called 06, which is all about stop oil, but instead of throwing soup at artworks, we just incentivize oil and gas companies to stop drilling for oil and leave it in the ground in return for carbon credits. So that's, in short, we can discuss it.
Hi, my name is Alexander Enthoven. I'm ecosystem partner at Crya. We are a blockchain studio based in Amsterdam and Singapore, mostly Amsterdam. And we build solutions where we design, conceptualize, and build solutions to enhance the sustainable performance of organizations in supply chains. So a lot of what we do is tracing materials all the way from the source up until the market. We trace sustainable attributes like greenhouse gas emissions, but also the social aspects of supply chains. And we're doing that in the metal space, plastics, textiles. Yeah, that's it in short.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Simone Andre. I'm actually ex-investment banker, and I founded Andre Project Finance, which is a financial service advisory boutique. And on the other hand, it has participations like Better Eco. I'm also CEO of Better Eco. Better Eco is an agricultural raw material trading platform with integrated tracing on blockchain technology. And the integration to one application gives several competitive advantage. And yeah, that's for the moment, and of course we are reaching 15 of 70 global goals. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Mehdi. As you can hear, I'm French. I'm the founder of Make Blockchain Green, which is the first eco-labo for blockchain projects, and I'm also representing Go-to-Markets, which is, I would say, climate solutions leader in Berlin for more than 10 years. So yeah, that's a quick summary.
Okay, so we're going to do this then with you asking questions, if you have questions to our experts up here, but I'm going to start with the first question, and I'm going to ask you, Simone, because we haven't heard so many women upstage today, and that's just a very easy question to begin with. What do you think was most surprising for you listening to the cases today, the use cases, or even the keynote from the beginning?
Well, I think I would like to stress more the factor of sustainability, and I think what is important is what can you do with blockchain, but it's not an obligatory tool. I think it depends very much if it makes sense in your business case, especially if you're a startup. So when makes using blockchain sense, and if not, and what type of blockchain? And I think it's of course a tremendous tool which you can use in order to ensure certain things, but it's not the tool which brings sustainability as such.
I think we can all agree that we are happy that the merge happened, and yeah, I would say that also for the specialists, sustainability is not only about carbon, but I think we're gonna deep dive after on this topic.
Yeah, sure. What we see in general, if I look at the initiatives that we have that we had on stage, but also the ones that were showed on the screen, in particular, for example, in carbon markets, is that there are so many players still sort of elbowing their way through in the space with a Web 2 mindset instead of a Web 3 mindset, with a winner-takes-all mentality instead of a collaborative ecosystem mindset. Yeah, that's it. I can talk all about it, but let me stop here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see that there are so many projects that are actually doing stuff. building and being live. And I think that that is great, because if you would have this gathering 3-4 years ago, it would all be about, oh, our plans are to do this, our plans are to do that. But actually now you see real live applications that are being built and are being used. And I think that's absolutely great news. And I hope that we can keep up the type of innovation and the speed of innovation that is going on right now. So yeah, it was very encouraging.
Thank you. So maybe deep dive on that a little bit more. What kind of cooperations would you love to see more? Maybe you, Alexander.
I'd like to see more collaborations between tech players and associations that are there to improve data standardization, making taxonomies for data sharing. We're seeing great initiatives about, I've talked about the initiative of the Global Battery Alliance, which is a major initiative of more than 110 companies in the battery space. It's very difficult to align an industry, and they managed to align an industry and to come to a set of rules for example, greenhouse gas emission calculations, which is a big step, even though they've worked for it for 3 years or so. So I'm really hoping that collaboration between the private sector, but also with tech parties, can happen more often.
Does anyone else want to answer the question?
Yeah, I would like to maybe emphasize the role of the regulator and the government. And I think it's great to see that they are stepping up. And today we had an interesting discussion also in the morning about the new supply chain law that is coming into effect here in Germany. What we encounter a lot, let's say when we're building stuff, is that governments say, oh yeah, but this is a market thing. So we are not going to say whether something needs to be decentralized or centralized. But I think the choice for decentralization is also policy. And I think that any government that is serious about protecting its citizens should really think about privacy-preserving technologies and about decentralized technologies, just because it's a better digital world than the world that we live in currently.
Thank you. Maybe to contribute, Emidi, what would you expect or hope from politics?
That's a really tough question to ask. I would say, coming back from the COP, I've witnessed local communities, young activists, and also public and private companies, governments, paving the way for a greener future. So, to answer your question, I would say maybe more regulation, maybe a proper regulation perimeter, so we can build without having this concern about the legal compliance at every single step of our processes. But yeah, I think everyone now is aware, and especially the governments, that local communities, but also people like you and I, are aware that the time to act is now.
Yeah, what coming back to one question earlier, and in combination with this question, what I learned here is that other governments, for example, like the Netherlands or also United States, are very much more active in promoting, for example, private initiatives and also startups. They really have financing programs also for startups, even the government. And this is something I learned and I appreciated. And for example, we are also thinking of going to other markets in Germany, because if you really have something innovative, or you want to make something innovative, not only from the application, rather than from the business model, it's hard time here in Germany. And the investors are also very keen on apps, but not very open-minded on really good new breakthrough applications. Like, for example, Google was here, I think 30 years ago, and went off. This is something nobody knows. A very good example, and every investor now says, would I have a closer look, but I didn't understand it. But even here, the people don't take the time to understand, to really think through. So I think a better combination of government combining with startups, also industry, they are doing more, which is what I learned, and also a mid-sized company can do also much more. Interactive with smaller companies, innovative companies, in order to make really a transformation, not only talking, doing.
So maybe what kind of initiatives or things are needed to strengthen this work across borders? Like not just in the countries itself, but more maybe, like we're a good example here, sitting different countries all together.
What I discovered is that there are a couple of accelerators which are outside of Germany, which are much more internationalist focused. And what I miss is also the Building Bridge accelerator, and who also engage and matchmake other startups, for example, other founders, to create a more international environment, spirits, ideas. I think this is something which we definitely need also on the European level, but definitely also on the more cross-continental. This is what I would appreciate.
Thank you.
In a few words, I would say that we need the final version of Mika.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't necessarily feel that we're siloed in a sense that we feel borders in the solutions that we develop. To be honest, we work with international supply chains, and the problems that we're trying to solve also don't stop at the border. And people recognize that, organizations recognize that. So I'm actually not experiencing any limitations with regards to borders.
So on what side are you on?
So I think that if you make it practical, so I think that the earlier presentation about the biofuels project, where the project manager, Luz, actually asked, so we are now looking for German partners to actually work together with us on this project. I think that's the way to go forward, because then you make it very concrete, and that is the kind of cooperation that you then need. And other than that, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I don't feel borders when it comes to blockchain, to be honest.
Thank you. So now it's time if we have any questions from the audience to one of them. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question to all four of you in 3 lines to make it a little bit more challenging. What is your biggest hurdle at the moment for scaling up? Or if you want an easier question, what do you need to be your organization next year twice as big? And don't say money.
I would say people. I would say people who are like genuinely interested in sustainable finance, who has the skills to approach that topic, which is really complex. Money, for sure. Yeah. And yeah, also the compliance, all the legal compliance, that's really a big stake to handle, yeah, really.
We definitely need resources, because we have a huge demand on all sides, and we cannot cope with the demand because we need resources, human being, co-founders to add on, and of course the word which I'm not supposed to say. Yeah, but this is actually, we have really a lot of demand. This is great, but yeah, we need people.
People. And I think, going back to an earlier point, standardization, what we saw in the early days in 2017, 2018, is that we just started to build from a tech perspective, because we thought we knew, or we know what needed to happen. And now we're at a stage with the solutions that we developed that we actually need standardization for it to be adopted at scale. So we think that we have technical solutions. There are guidelines out there that we can implement, but we also need a sort of standardized stamp from governments or institutions saying, okay, this is actually the right way to go.
Sorry, we need support from the government, because we have something which can be standardized for Europe or internationally, and this is which needs big support.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of a contrarian answer to the money question, or actually what you mentioned. I think there's too much money that has been thrown at blockchain companies. There are protocols out there that have so much money that they're actually failing very slow. It takes ages for them to fail, simply because they sit on this big bag of money. And it would be great if that money would be reallocated to projects that do matter. So I think reallocation of money and of talent to projects that matter would be one. Another one is usability. So when we were building, and we are building the carbon credit venture, one of the things that we came up with is, oh yeah, okay, so now someone who buys our carbon tokens actually has to create a MetaMask wallet. How are they going to do that? How are we going to help them? So better usability without re-centralization, I think is a huge challenge, and anyone who can do that, they should actually get the money that is now in the hands of the protocols.
I have one piece of advice. I have one piece of advice. We had the same problem with people, right? But that's a problem of the whole industry, having capable people who are doing programming and understanding, etc. So what we did was educate. We went to university and started our own blockchain miner, investing time to help the next generation of programmers. And that was a huge success. We have more programmers than we need, right? Well, that's really true. So invest time in that and you'll be rewarded 10 times.
Thank you.
If I may react to that, if I look at our own company at least, we take on as many juniors as we can, but at a certain point you also have to work. So yes, you can train people to the level where you want it to be, but sometimes you just need senior personnel to get things done and get that education going.
And blockchain is contagious, apparently. And I want to say hi to my 2 colleagues who are there, and maybe 1 year ago they didn't were aware about all the possibilities of blockchain, and now they're attending to a blockchain event. So, yeah.
I also have a question for all of you, and I'm interested in your personal view, but also from your industry, how you would solve this problem. What I always struggle with green products is there's like a little green check mark on that, and I never know what it actually means. And blockchain helps solve with the whole validation part. But for a project that I was working with, we had to show how good a certain company was doing with child labor, and someone came up with like a fridge thing like B, C, A+. And then let's say you have a B. Do you have then children working a little bit? Maybe less children at least than a C. So if you see a product that has like a green check mark on it, is that enough for you personally, or how would you solve this thing for your business if you invested in something sustainable?
First of all, no, at least, but that's me personally. I don't accept a sort of simple check mark. I would like to trickle down to the actual impact that was made by a product or something like that. And then to your second question, I think it's very important to make it relatable to something that people can understand. To Arno's point, if you see, for example, the impact of, I don't know, a sweater that was produced by Nike, for example, you can say, well, this sweater produced 2 kilograms of CO2, but if someone can't relate to it, it doesn't say anything. So you need to make it more tangible. You can either have to make a comparison to I don't know, a car trip, or compare it to something else, something that they can relate to. But it also depends on the case. So this is a case of CO2. It can also be water consumption. Yeah, it really depends on the case.
I started as an investment banker, and my first project brings me to Africa to go to where raw materials of, for example, ginger get produced, and to really see with own eyes what does it mean, childhood labor. Yeah, and I have a very interesting point of this, because when I stopped our supplier saying, oh, this young guy is maybe too young, and he said, listen, he's 15 years old, he's off school, this is the cleanest work he can do here just carry bags. So this is not childhood work for us. Yeah. So we have first of all different level of understanding, and I think the topic of sustainability, I mean even the word sustainability, yeah, has different definitions, and I think as long as we have no unique definition on green, on sustainability, on impact, there will be always greenwashing possible, unfortunately. And also, if you look at the technologies, I mean, you know, we started, which is good. Of course, we need to speed up always a topic of impact, how to create impact, how to avoid waste, but also even the tool of measurements. Everybody now is focusing in the industry of reporting or you know, there are different technologies to measure dryness, waste, or, you know, even if you use pesticide. If you really check it and measure it, carbon, for example, CO2 emission in the soil, and there's only one or two innovative technologies I know that really can separate the different CO2 emissions in the soil. So as long as we do not have a unique definition, everybody has the same problem in Europe. If you use atomic as a green energy, for example, without taking into consideration all the waste which atomic nuclear power left behind, for example. So we need a unique definition on green, on sustainability, on impact, and we also need to have a closer look to the technologies who really measure and judge it's about. And this is, I think, a long way we still have to go. But we are on a way now.
Just to answer your question, it depends on the product and if it's on-chain, for sure. For example, if you're considering one NFT from another one, if you have the green check, you can say this one is sustainable and this one is not, pre-merge, post-merge. And there is one comparison that I like to do between the carbon market and also the NFT market. We tend to say that the carbon market is becoming more compliant than voluntary. So today, people are offsetting because they are willing to offset. One day they're going to be forced, obliged, like compliant. That's the same thing for NFTs. Today we're just buying a lot of NFTs, and one day maybe we're gonna have to assume those consequences, like how much NFTs did you had, what is your Web3 carbon footprint. So I would say that having a green chain score, for example, or a green mark, which is on-chain, could be used as a decision support tool in order to do better investments, for example.
Thank you. I think we are finished here.